What makes One Piece so great? Now, that's a really general and broad sweeping question, but it's actually simple. But before we get into it, if you like cool and refreshing One Piece content, this is the place. Think about leaving us a like or a sub as we are on the road to 1K. Join the Code City. One Piece is a super popular, massive IP worth over 20 billion with no sights of stopping. It's like huge. The story of One Piece spans well over 2 decades and is legit older than some of its readers and watchers. You don't make it that long in any industry without being worth your salt. But that begs the question, what makes One Piece great? Alright, let me break it down a bit. Starting off, I would say one of the main key factors that has played a huge role in One Piece longevity is the writing. The writing of One Piece is absolutely superb and legit needs to be studied. There are plenty of good stories out there in manga, anime, and just different mediums of entertainment altogether. So when you get something like One Piece that is just levels and leagues above majority of everything else that's out there, there's no way it won't be a hit. The story of One Piece is very well written and laid out in such a way that almost anybody can get into it. It's very simple, but it has its complexities. At the same time, it's just a general story that anyone can kind of get into. All of the characters actually feel like, characters. They don't feel cardboard. They don't feel like cut out. They don't feel like they're just there for a specific reason. They actually feel like they live in the world and breathe in it. A perfect example of this would be Senior Pink. At the beginning of Dressrosa, he was someone that no one expected anything from. His design was not cool. In fact, it was the exact opposite. He was someone I did not think I would personally be interested in or had a vested interest in by the end of Dressrosa, but I was pleasantly surprised. Oda was able to craft such a short, sweet, and just well put together backstory for the guy that at the end of his fight with Frankie, you legit was rooting for him. Like, you deeply felt his pain and just the being of his character. A man who essentially lost everything he ever loved and cared about, and then through that deep trauma, he began to live it out through dressing like his son. It was like just such a well crafted and just came out of nowhere. That's the one thing about Oda is that he'll give you something you didn't even know you needed. The writing of One Piece has the ability to introduce a character and have you hooked on their story within moments of meeting them, like almost instantly, especially when they start to dive deep into their backstory and just show you why they are the way they are. But on the inverse side of that, the story of One Piece also has a beautiful way of taking characters you thought you've known for years and showing you didn't actually know them at all. Prime and one of the best examples I can use is the man himself, Bartholomew Kuma. Kuma is a man that we've known well over a decade, and clearly we didn't know his backstory and didn't know what he came from or his struggle, but we all kind of thought we might have known him just a little bit, and we could have been none the wiser. Within 2 chapters, might I even say one, of his backstory, people were absolutely hooked to Kuma. There were some people even calling him one of the best written characters within the story of One Piece. And clearly, if you know the characters of One Piece, that's nothing to snuff at. Kuma was a man whose life was 90% pain with little blotches of happiness here and there throughout it. Within 3 to 5 chapters, Oda was able to take a character who was in nobody's top 30, unless you were just a Kuma stan, to being someone that generally everybody loved. He was written to be a heartbreaking character, but at the same time, he exemplifies many characteristics that anyone should strive for. I'm not going to harp too much on Kuma as I can talk about him all day, and I actually have a video on him already, but that's just a testament to the writing of One Piece. On the topic of characters and writing, next I would say one of the biggest, if not the biggest factor when it comes to the greatness of One Piece, the MC, Luffy. Luffy is a once-in-a-lifetime type of character, and not even just in anime and manga, but in all medias across the platform. Like, there is no one like Luffy. He's lightning in a bottle. There are so many aspects of Luffy that make him great, but I think his biggest strength and the biggest draw to Luffy is his simplicity. He is a simple guy with simple goals and ambitions and a simple moral code. Don't hurt my friends. Luffy isn't some deep philosophical character with all these abstract thoughts and all that. No, he's just a simple guy. He's so simple, in fact, to the point that we almost never get any inner dialogue from him, like almost never. And if you really know anime and manga, that's kind of unheard of when it comes to the main character. He loves meat, he loves traveling with his friends and crewmates and just enjoying the journey, and he wants to be the Pirate King. Simple as that. He doesn't have some super cool design. His power isn't all that complicated. Well, not really at first. He's a rubber man. Now, essentially, before I got into One Piece, I will admit, All of those things I just named about Luffy were the exact reason that I didn't want to get into One Piece. Compared to guys like Naruto, Goku, Ichigo, he just didn't seem cool to me. Like, he didn't have muscles, he wasn't flashy, he didn't have like some super cool design. He just didn't do it for me. From the outside, Luffy just looked like some goofy kid who smiles all the time and who could stretch like a rubber band. It wasn't until I actually forced myself to sit down and give One Piece a wholehearted chance and, after episode after episode, that it really clicked for me. The simplicity is the magic of Luffy. And then, essentially, that's the magic of One Piece. Because the depth of character and complexities that you look for in your MC and just the flow of narrative with twists and turns that all go this way, that way, that's all provided for by the story. You have deep characters with so many complex thoughts like Zoro, Sanji, Law, Shanks, even guys like Kaido, Whitebeard, Aokiji, Kuzan. These characters are just so deeply woven and just so complex. It's like it makes up for Luffy being so simple. It allows him to be simple. With all these things going on in the world, we know that Luffy is the anchor to our ship. We know that whatever's going on, at the end of the day, Luffy is going to go for the big bad. Luffy is going to be the Pirate King, and he loves meat and to have parties. That's why we love him. We don't come to Luffy hoping for him to get super deep and tell us all these thoughts, because that's not him. We leave all that stuff to everybody else and let the story do the heavy lifting. In my opinion, he's not like any other MC when it comes to anime and manga, period. Next, I would say the greatest aspect of One Piece would be the world building. Before I got into One Piece, I would always hear people talking about how the world building is so great, the story is vast, there are so many places, so many islands, and I always thought like, yeah, okay, but it's true. Again, the world feels lived in with real characters in it. It isn't just like, when we leave one place, the same people are just sitting there in the same spot waiting for us to come back. No, they're living their lives. When it comes to anime and manga and even other forms of media, when our main cast visits a place or goes to a certain location for an arc, after the arc is done, for the most part, we never hear from those people again. One Piece is different. The world isn't treated like it's some RPG where this section is for beginners, this section is for intermediate, this section is for expert. No, each section has importance and can have relevance even further down the story. Take Little Garden, for example. Luffy went to Little Garden in chapter 115 where he met Dory and Broggy. Over 1,000 chapters later, Dory and Broggy come back into the story in a major way when they come to help Luffy escape Egghead Island. Like, the writing is just out of this world and the world building is just next level. The world doesn't feel region locked like a lot of different anime and manga, even though technically it kind of is, but at the same time, the characters don't treat it that way. You may see a guy here, and next thing you know, he's this part, all the way down the story. It's to the effect that the One Piece world pretty much operates like the real world, honestly. That leads into another factor for the worldwide success of One Piece, and that's just the creativity and innovativeness of Oda is just off the walls. The wonder and creativity of One Piece is just like nothing I've never seen before, and just has a way of capturing even your own creativity and imagination. The story gets you accustomed to just the rules that almost anything can happen in One Piece, whether it be dragons, mermaids, whether it be a whole entire island where everything is edible with chocolate and candy and all, like anything you think of is a possibility in the world of One Piece. The story of One Piece and Oda provides that childish wonder which a lot of us was initially drawn into anime and manga as kids, and it just keeps it there and kind of ramps it up and just feels nostalgic even if you're new. Even something like Gear 5, which was a bit of a controversy when it first dropped in the manga, it's so silly and off the walls and the exact opposite of most manga when it comes to, giving their MC the huge power up. It's usually something serious and fierce and, just not Gear 5. Gear 5 takes everything that One Piece is, the essential essence, and just takes it to the next level and embodies it. Finally, if I had to choose one thing that I would say is one of the key factors in what makes One Piece so great and just the massive thing it is, I would say the story is for everybody. Whether you're old, young, new to manga, old to manga, just getting into it, you've been known about it, One Piece is a great story. Like I said, it's a story that anyone can get behind and understand. Luffy is a guy who, at the end of the day, he wants to be the Pirate King and he wants to journey and travel with his friends. That's it. It's nothing convoluted. It's nothing confusing. One Piece is a story that I can go into deep diving conversations with my friends back and forth for hours. And at the same time, I could talk to my 7-year-old and laugh about Gear 5 and say how cool it is. It's just that kind of show. With well over 1,100 chapters, for someone who isn't caught up to One Piece, it can be a bit of a daunting challenge, but that's a part of One Piece at this point. It's not the destination of catching up or even, seeing what the One Piece is. It's the journey all along, and that's Luffy. It's about living in the moment, relishing in the now, and enjoying the journey. That is One Piece, and that's why we love it. If you like what you've heard here today, please leave a like, comment, or share. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on One Piece? What is your greatest One Piece moment? Well, that's it for me today, guys. And remember, stay cold.